Listen to me. There will come a time when life doesn't just test you, it breaks you. You will fall flat on your face. You will fail. You will feel like you can't get up again. Good. That's the truth. Because the only way you discover who you really are is when life throws you down so hard you're gasping for air. I don't want you to be afraid of being broken. I want you to welcome it. Because when something breaks, you find out if it was weak or if it was strong enough to be rebuilt. When life breaks you, you have two choices. Stay down and let the world step over you, or get back up and show the world that you cannot be destroyed. And listen carefully. Getting up doesn't mean you're suddenly a champion. Getting up means you take one step, then another and another. Even if your legs are shaking, even if your heart is heavy, you move forward. Pain is temporary, brokenness is temporary, but the strength you build when you rise after being shattered, that stays with you forever. So when life breaks you, don't cry, don't quit, don't point fingers. Instead, stand tall, use the pain as fuel, show life that it picked the wrong person to try and destroy, because the truth is, life doesn't break the strong. Life creates the strong by breaking them first. Now, go be unbreakable. Embrace the break. Pain is your teacher. Too many people run from pain. Too many people hide the moment life begins to squeeze them, pressure them, test them. But listen closely, because this is the truth that most don't want to hear. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is the signal that you are alive, that you are fighting, that something inside you is being shaped. The break doesn't come to stop you. The break comes to make you see what you are made of. When life breaks you, it feels like the end. You feel weak, humiliated, worthless. But in that exact moment, you are standing at the doorway to your next level. Pain is the guard at the gate. It's asking you one question: are you willing to endure? Are you willing to suffer to become stronger than you are right now? If you say no, the gate stays closed. If you say yes, if you push forward through the fire, then you pass through, scarred but more powerful than ever. Think about the strongest steel. It doesn't come from being left alone. It comes from the fire. The fire melts it, pounds it, bends it over and over again. If steel could feel, it would scream. But every strike, every flame, every break makes it harder, sharper, more unbreakable. You are no different. Life will burn you, hammer you, bend you. And yes, you will scream. But every hit is teaching you something no easy day could ever teach. Pain teaches discipline. When you're broken, you learn patience. You learn to work even when the reward isn't instant. You learn to wake up when you don't want to keep going when every part of you is telling you to stop. Without pain, there is no reason to build discipline. Without being broken, there's no reason to fight for order in your life. Pain forces you to decide. Are you serious about who you want to become? Or are you only interested when it feels good? Pain teaches gratitude. When you've been broken, when you've been down in the dirt, gasping for hope, you stop taking things for granted. A simple victory feels like a miracle. Every step forward feels like a gift. Pain shows you what really matters. Not the shiny distractions, not the applause, but the strength inside you and the people who truly stand by you when everything falls apart. Pain strips away the fake and reveals the real. Pain teaches resilience. You can read about strength. You can talk about courage. You can imagine how tough you might be in difficult times. But until you've been broken, until you've been smashed to the ground with nothing left in your hands, you will never know resilience. Resilience is built by refusing to quit, refusing to stay down, even when there is no clear path forward. Every time you rise after pain, you add a new layer of armor to your spirit. Pain teaches humility. When life breaks you, you realize you are not invincible. You realize that no matter how powerful you thought you were, you can still bleed, you can still fall. But instead of this being weakness, it becomes wisdom. It teaches you to respect the struggle, to respect the climb. It teaches you not to underestimate life, not to underestimate others, not to underestimate the grind it takes to achieve greatness. Pain humbles you, and that humility keeps you sharp. Pain teaches focus. When you're broken, you don't have the luxury of wasting time. You don't have the luxury of pretending. Everything narrows down to the essential. You learn to block out the noise, the distractions, the nonsense. The only thing that matters is the fight in front of you. Pain pushes you into the present moment like nothing else can. It clears away the clutter and forces you to pay attention to what's real, what's urgent, what's life or death. Pain teaches transformation. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most. It wasn't when everything was easy, smooth, comfortable. It was after heartbreak, after failure, after disappointment. Pain forces change. It makes you shed your old skin, your old ways of thinking, your old habits. Pain transforms you from who you were into who you must become. Without the break, you stay the same. With the break, you evolve. Embrace the break, because it's the only way to discover the strength inside you that comfort will never show you. Embrace the break, because the world will not go easy on you, and you cannot go easy on yourself. Embrace the break, because pain is your teacher, and every lesson it gives is written in fire, written in sweat, written in scars. Getting up once more defines strength. Falling down is part of the process. Everyone falls. Everyone hits the ground. Some hit harder than others, but nobody escapes it. The difference between those who stay weak and those who become strong is not who falls, but who rises again. Strength is not measured by the weight you can lift, or the power you can show when everything is going well. Strength is measured by your ability to stand back up when your body is screaming, when your heart is broken, when your spirit feels crushed. When you're on the ground, the world is quiet. You hear the doubts louder than ever. They whisper that it's over. They tell you it's not worth it. They tell you you've tried enough. This is where most people quit. This is where most people decide they're done. But true strength is forged in that moment, when you have nothing left, when nobody's watching, when nobody believes in you, and you decide to push yourself up anyway. Every champion you've ever admired, every hero you've ever looked up to has been on the ground. They've been beaten, humiliated, broken, but they had the courage to rise one more time. They had the will to face the world again, even when the world had already counted them out. That's what separates them. That's what makes them powerful. Not that they never fell, but that they refused to stay down. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed. It doesn't matter how many times you've been knocked down, rejected, laughed at, or defeated. The question is always the same. Will you get back up? Will you rise again, even if it's slower, even if it hurts, even if you're carrying the scars of every fall before this one? If you do, then you are strong. If you don't, then the defeat becomes permanent. The pain becomes who you are instead of what you've overcome. Strength is built repetition after repetition. Every time you rise again, you add to it. The first time, maybe it's shaky, you're unsure, unsteady, but you rise. The second time, your muscles remember. The third time, your mind grows sharper. The 10th time, your spirit hardens like steel. Over and over, the simple act of getting back up transforms you into something unbreakable. People think strength is about never showing weakness. They think strength is about winning every fight. But real strength is about standing up with bruises all over your body, with doubt in your chest, with fear in your head, and still moving forward. That's strength. Continuing despite weakness, that's strength. Walking through fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. That's strength. Rising again even when nobody believes you can. When you get up once more, you send a message to yourself. You tell yourself that you are not done, you are not finished, you are not beaten. You prove to yourself that you are greater than the circumstances. And once you prove that to yourself, the world can no longer control you. Nobody can decide your worth anymore, because you know, deep down, that you will always rise again. Strength is not about perfection. Strength is not about being flawless. It is about resilience, about persistence, about the refusal to give up no matter how heavy the weight becomes. Getting up once more might not look pretty. You might be crawling instead of running. You might be limping instead of walking, but it doesn't matter. The act itself defines you. It carves your identity into the stone of reality. You are someone who will never stay down. The world respects the one who keeps coming back. Even your enemies can't deny it. When they knock you down and you rise again, when they crush you and you return stronger, when they laugh at you and you refuse to break, They are forced to recognize your strength. You earn respect not by falling less, but by rising more. Every scar tells a story of a fall, but every step forward tells the story of a rise. The scars prove the battle, but the rise proves the victory. That cycle, fall, rise, that is where true strength is born. Not in the easy times, not in the comfortable moments, but in the constant decision to keep moving, keep climbing, keep fighting. Getting up once more defines strength. It always has. It always will. Use pain as fuel, not as chains. Most people let pain become the weight that drags them down, the excuse that keeps them trapped where they are. They take every disappointment, every heartbreak, every failure, and they wrap it around themselves like shackles. They convince themselves that because they suffered, they cannot move forward, but pain was never meant to chain you. Pain was meant to ignite you. The fire you feel inside when you hurt is not the fire of destruction, it's the fire of creation if you choose to use it. Every great achievement you see in the world is built on pain. The artist who poured their heartbreak into their work, the athlete who turned every insult into training fuel, the leader who took rejection after rejection and transformed it into determination. None of them escaped pain. None of them avoided suffering. They simply made a decision. I will not let this break me down. I will let this push me forward. That is the choice you must make. Pain is energy. When you are hurt, your body reacts, your mind reacts, your spirit reacts. That energy can be wasted in anger, in bitterness, in self-pity, or it can be redirected. You can take that raw power and pour it into your work, your training, your craft, your growth. You can take the very thing that tried to destroy you and turn it into the reason you rise higher than anyone expected. Pain is a resource. Most people throw it away. The strong harvest it and transform it into strength. When you feel pain, that is the signal that life is shaping you. That pressure in your chest, that heaviness in your stomach, that burning in your muscles, these are not curses, these are opportunities. They tell you where the weakness is. They tell you what must be confronted. They tell you what still needs to be rebuilt. If you run from that signal, if you numb yourself and avoid it, you lose the chance to grow. If you face it, if you let it push you, then every ounce of pain becomes fuel for the next step. Chains hold you still. Fuel drives you forward. When pain becomes chains, you stop moving. You freeze in the memory of what happened. You keep replaying the betrayal, the failure, the humiliation, and you convince yourself you are powerless. You convince yourself it will always be this way. But when pain becomes fuel, the same memory, the same story, the same hurt becomes the spark that drives you. You don't replay it to suffer, you replay it to remember why you fight. You don't think of it to weaken yourself, you think of it to harden your resolve. Think about the hardest workouts, the toughest challenges, the moments where your body screamed for you to quit. The pain in those moments wasn't there to stop you. It was the signal that you were growing, that you were pushing beyond your limits. Without that pain, there is no progress. Without that fire, you stay soft, you stay the same. The same applies to every part of life. Emotional pain, mental pain, spiritual pain. They are the resistance you must push against to become stronger. You cannot erase the pain. You cannot wish it away. You cannot wait for a life without struggle, because that life does not exist. The only choice you have is what you do with it. Do you let it sit on your shoulders like a chain, dragging you down into resentment and regret? Or do you throw it into the fire of your ambition and let it fuel the engine that drives you forward? That is what separates the weak from the strong. That is what separates the defeated from the victorious. The more pain you've felt, the more fuel you have. That is the secret nobody tells you. Every scar is a tank of energy waiting to be burned. Every wound is a story you can turn into strength. Every disappointment is a log you can throw into the fire that keeps you moving. The world will give you pain whether you ask for it or not. You cannot control that, but you can control whether it chains you to the ground or fuels your rise to the next level. Failure is temporary, resilience is forever. The problem is people treat failure like it's the final chapter, like the story ends the moment they lose, the moment they fall short, the moment something doesn't go their way. They stamp themselves with the label of failure and carry it for life. But failure is not permanent ink. It's chalk on a board. It can be erased, rewritten, turned into something new. The only way it becomes permanent is if you stop writing, if you stop trying, if you give up before the next attempt. Failure is the cost of progress. You don't move forward without paying that price. You don't become great without stumbling, without falling, without hitting the wall again and again. People want to skip that part. They want the success without the setbacks, the growth without the grind. But there is no resilience without failure, because resilience is built in the recovery. Every time you get knocked down, every time the door slams in your face, every time the plan collapses, that is where resilience is born. Resilience is not about avoiding the fall. It's about refusing to stay down. It's the muscle you build when everything collapses, but you still find a way to take the next step. It's the power you gain when your plan fails, but you refuse to walk away. Failure is a single event. Resilience is a lifetime decision. One is temporary, the other is forever. One is an obstacle, the other is the strength that moves you past it. Look at history. Look at the stories of the people who achieved something worth remembering. Every one of them faced failure, often more than once, often in ways that would have broken anyone else. They were told no, they were laughed at, they were rejected, they were beaten down, but their resilience made the difference. Their resilience turned temporary failure into eventual victory. The difference was not talent, not luck, not opportunity. It was the refusal to accept failure as the end. Failure hurts, there's no denying it. It burns, it cuts, it shakes your confidence. But that sting is not meant to stop you, it's meant to teach you. It shows you where you're weak, it shows you what needs work. It shows you the cracks in the foundation. If you listen to failure, if you study it, it becomes your greatest coach. If you ignore it, if you let the pain convince you to quit, it becomes your prison. The choice is always yours. Resilience is a habit. It's not built in one moment. It's built over and over again in the small decisions you make. Every time you fall and rise, you reinforce it. Every time you fail and try again, you harden it. Every time you refuse to let temporary defeat stop you, you prove to yourself that resilience is part of who you are. And once it's part of you, nothing can truly break you. People look at resilience like it's a gift, like some are born with it and others are not. That's not true. Resilience is earned. It's forged in the fire of failure, through repeated tests, through constant struggle. If you've failed more, you have the opportunity to become more resilient than anyone else. If you've been knocked down again and again, you have the chance to rise stronger than anyone who's only walked the easy path. Failure will visit you, no matter how careful you are, no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how hard you try to avoid it. But resilience is something you have to choose. You choose it every time you stand up. You choose it every time you say no to quitting. You choose it every time you look at failure and refuse to let it define you. Failure is temporary. Resilience is forever. Life creates the strong by breaking them first. People look at strength like it comes from nowhere, like it's something you're born with or something you inherit. But the truth is, strength is not a gift. It's not a birthright. It's not handed down. Strength is built, and the material used to build it is struggle. Life does not hand strength to you wrapped in comfort. It forges it through trials, through setbacks, through moments when you think you cannot go any further. When life breaks you, it's not punishment, it's construction. The pressure, the weight, the pain, they are the tools that carve you into someone new. Without them, you stay soft, you stay the same, you stay untested. People say they want strength, but they pray for an easy path. They want resilience without struggle. They want confidence without rejection. They want power without pressure. That is not how strength is created. Life has to break you, strip you down, test every part of you, and then see if you rise again. That process is the forge. That process is where the strong are made. Think about the mountains you've climbed in your life, the obstacles that stood in your way. You didn't gain strength when everything was smooth. You gained it in the moments when the storm hit hardest. Every heartbreak taught you resilience. Every failure taught you persistence. Every betrayal taught you independence. The lessons that turned you into who you are came from the breaks, not the easy days. Comfort is pleasant, but comfort never builds power. Pressure does. The world does not admire the person who had everything handed to them. The world admires the person who was broken, who was counted out, who had nothing left but still rose. Because deep down we all know the truth. Strength without struggle is fake. It's shallow. Real strength comes from scars, from battles, from pain. You can look someone in the eye who has been broken and risen again, and you know their strength is real. You feel it, it cannot be faked. Life creates the strong by breaking them, because only breaking reveals what you're made of. Anyone can smile when things go right. Anyone can be confident when the path is clear. But when the ground crumbles under you, when your dreams fall apart, when the people you trusted turn away, that is when your true nature comes out. That is when the weak collapse and the strong begin to form. That is when you decide if you will let the break destroy you, or if you will use it to rebuild into something greater. Every scar is a reminder of the break, but also a reminder of survival. Every wound that healed is proof that you endured. Strength isn't about never being touched by pain. It's about carrying the marks of it and still moving forward. The people who walk with quiet confidence, the people who inspire, the people who cannot be shaken, they are the ones who have been through the fire. They have been broken, and that's why they are strong. It's not easy to accept that life will break you. It's not easy to embrace the pain, but if you run from it, if you avoid it, you avoid the very thing that would have made you powerful. Struggle is not optional, it's necessary. Every time you fight through it, every time you take the hit and keep moving, you are layering steel on your spirit. Every time life tries to shatter you, it is handing you the chance to prove you cannot be destroyed. Strength is not built in the comfort zone. It is built in the breaking zone. When you're on your knees, when you're gasping for air, when you feel like everything is lost, that is the place where your foundation is tested. If you rise with something that can never be taken away. That's why the strongest people you know are also the ones with the hardest stories. Their strength wasn't luck. It was built in the moments they thought they couldn't survive but did.